Staying with cricket matters, this time in the SA20 competition, the Joburg Super Kings have set the Pretoria Capitals a target of 169 runs. The home side made a total of 168 for 9. This new rising star, Yolulwe Qoshe, who made an unbeaten 75 from 40 balls. Ethan Bosch took figures of 3 for 12 after 3 overs for the visitors. This is what's currently happening on the field at the Wanderers.
And the last over helped over those two fielders behind screen on the leg side. This one just beats him to the left. Quick outfield here at the Wanderers.
The Capitals are currently in their chase on 42 for 2 in the 5th over. Well, that's happening on the field of play in a very busy and vibey Wanderers Stadium as it hosts its first SA20 fixture. On the sidelines is our reporter Yolulwe Qoshe. Yolulwe?
So, Valen, I wanted to speak to more of the fans about this particular topic. But as I got some of them, I realized that it has been quite some time since they consumed water in the system. It had been replaced by other beverages, and we'll leave it at that. But thankfully for me, to my rescue came Stuart Hess, who is a cricket reporter for Times Live, who joins me today right now to speak about the current game going on. Stuart, thank you so much for your time. The Kings, 168, 169, the target they put on the board. Do you think that's going to be enough tonight?
Well, it's a slightly two-pace pitch here at the Wanderers, which is a bit unusual. Normally it's nice and flat, and the team batting second, you would favour them to actually get 169, 170 fairly comfortably, but it looks like it's a little bit two-pace. They've got some good weapons in their bowling attack, so it might get tricky. They started well with a couple of wickets, so if they continue in that fashion, we could be in for a nice close game tonight.
Again, today we saw Faf du Plessis. To his credit, he got a bit of a start this time around. Looked like he was going to get a decent figure on the board, but didn't quite pull through. Should the team be worried about their skipper's performances and form?
I don't think they will be. If the same philosophy that holds for the Chennai Super Kings, who are the owners of Joburg, and the same coaching staff as here, and Faf has played in the IPL with Chennai Super Kings, so the same philosophy holds from that organisation for the Joburg team. There won't be any panic. They're a very composed, very calm organisation. They'll back their players all the way, and they know Faf. At some point he'll come right, and they just hope it happens quite soon because they've had a couple of defeats early in this competition.
And that has prompted again Louis Du Plessis to come in and try and anchor the innings like he did in the previous game. He's gone better this time, getting over that 50-run mark, getting his half century. What did you make of his innings and how he's literally tried and matured his game during this particular tournament?
Oh, it's an excellent innings. I thought he struggled a little bit in the first few matches, but he's justified the faith that the franchise have shown in him. Some great shot making this evening. And yeah, he's given them a total, something for them to bowl at.
And just in general, this tournament, there was a lot of talk about supporters boycotting this tournament because South African cricket was in a bit of a tumultuous place. But the turnout has been far from that. What do you think of that particular stance? Do you think supporters should always just worry about the cricket, or do you think they have the right to worry about what's happening in those boardrooms?
I think they are fine to worry about both. I don't think the word boycott was ever something that I heard. There was concern about whether South Africa will embrace this tournament, because it's a lot of new teams for them, for spectators to learn about. And yeah, there's been the problems with the Proteas in the last couple of years, and particularly in the last sort of 6 months with the performances on the field not being what South African fans would like it to be. But, what we've seen in the first week of the competition is that, South African fans have been very enthusiastic. I've been to a few of the matches now, being close to full house every time. So South Africans are very keen to get back in touch with cricket again in a joyous fashion, as opposed to, the cynicism that exists around the national team so often.
Let's stick to that national team topic. Not too far from here, in the CSA headquarters, that announcement was made yesterday that we have now 2 head coaches for our 2 respective teams. Shukri Conrad for the red ball cricket and Rob Walters for our white ball cricket. First and foremost, are you for that idea of splitting the coaches for the 2 different formats?
I'm neither for nor against it. I think it's an innovative step for South Africa, something that the Director of Cricket, Enoch Mqwe, felt that was required because of the nature of the schedules. So the Proteas don't have a lot of Test cricket on the schedule over the next 4 years, but they are white ball ICC tournaments every year until 2031 and every year until 2027, obviously, because in that year South Africa hosts the World Cup. So I understand why the decision was made, and it's now a case of supporting those two gentlemen. They've got a lot of experience as coaches, but they need the backing from Cricket South Africa to enable them to fulfill the targets that have been set for them.
And it's another World Cup here for the Proteas. If they do qualify, I believe there's still a factor of qualification there. Do you back them to wrap that up quickly? And should they do that, do you think the squad will regroup in time to be a force to be reckoned with at the World Cup, or is that too tough to ask for?
I don't know if they'll be a force to be reckoned with, even if they do qualify for the World Cup. There's so many steps that they need to go through, so many processes that need to unfold. There's talk from the Director of Cricket, Enoch Mqwe, on Monday about changing of captains for both the Test and the One-Day side. So that's something that will have to be factored in, and it's something that they will have to get the input from, if you're talking about the World Cup, from Rob Walter as the new head coach. So there's a lot of water that needs to flow under the bridge first. I know the 2023 World Cup isn't a long way away, but in a sense for South Africa it is. So it'll be interesting to see how that process unfolds over the next few weeks.
And speaking about revamping, cleaning house under new coaches, we saw in Australia, in all of the games in Australia, our batters did not come to the party at all. Is there concern that those are the best that we have at the moment and they're not doing the job? Or are there some names coming from our domestic cricket scene that you still think can come in and rescue our ship in time for that World Cup, perhaps, and going forward into our red ball cricket side?
Look, I mean, so there's two different things you're asking about. One is the Test side. The batting has struggled there. I think for the most part, the best players in the country were in Australia. There were a couple of names missing, but they just struggled, and they have struggled for a very long time. Piled a lot of pressure onto the bowling unit, which is South Africa's strength. As far as the white ball competition is concerned, I think what this tournament has shown is there is a lot of talent in South Africa. It's about how that talent is harnessed. And so that's going to be the trick for Rob Walter to try and figure out, along with his support staff and, the backing from the selectors and so on.
Thank you so much for your time, Stuart. Really appreciate it, man. Well, that was Stuart Hurst of Times Live, cricket reporter for them, talking about the title, talking about the target, rather, of the Joburg Super Kings, saying it should be enough for them to win usually, and also saying that there's still a long way for Cricket South Africa to go, despite the announcement of the two coaches to lead our two respective teams in their respective cricket formats. Back to you in studio, available.
Thank you very much, Yolulwe Qoshe, out at the Wanderers Stadium in Johannesburg.